Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel, The Diligent Duck. I'm Varsha Patel and I'm back with another video. This one's a little bit delayed because we have been on vacation and a lot has been going on with the end of the school year for the children, but I am taking some time away from some of the kids who are downstairs running around and making noise. Sorry if you can hear them in the background. So today's topic is something that's very dear and near to my heart, and actually the crux of me starting this entire channel in the first place. What I wanted to address today was the difference between status versus success. Most people think, when they think of status and success, that they go hand in hand. And there is quite a difference between the two. Sometimes they can overlap, but they are not the same thing. And my whole purpose with my channel is to kind of talk about the ways in which you can aim for success in life, and it may or may not bring you status in the way that we are accustomed to thinking about status. To start off with, well, what are the definitions of those two things? Status refers to somebody's social standing, how others perceive them externally. A lot of it has to do with perceptions of how wealthy they are. If you think about somebody like Jeff Bezos, or if they are in front of the camera a lot, like an actor, if they are in the political arena. So you know them right off the bat, you know who they are. With their status comes a certain persona. This is not the same as someone who is successful, because there are tons and tons of people in the world who are successful human beings, but they are not well known to the public eye. Success is more in line with accomplishing certain goals and achievements that are important to the person internally. And I'll kind of delve into internal versus external as we go along this discussion. Speaking of internal and external, what I mean by that comes in different forms. One is the fulfillment that you get. So with status, usually that fulfillment is external. So again, because you're kind of in the public eye, or people know about you, or they see you, whether you're famous or not, maybe you just have a large following on social media, that they are seeing the superficial surface nature of your achievements. So that could be through the vacations that you take, or the cars that you own, or the luxury handbag that you have. In contrast to that persona that everybody sees, success is more about the quieter goals that you work towards every day in your life. That could be something as simple as meditating for 5 minutes, and that's a goal that you've made for yourself and you stick to. It could be as lofty as writing a novel or a memoir, and that takes daily dedicated efforts to achieve that. Most people are not seeing you go through that work and that process. Sometimes status and success in terms of external validation can overlap. For example, through social media, so many people who otherwise would never, quote, make it are now quite famous or have become very well known. For example, poets, authors, artists, etc. So it is possible for those things to overlap, but success comes from working diligently towards those goals that are not all external validation to begin with. The other difference between status and success is whether you have material versus non-material rewards. I kind of touched on this in the last point, where we talked about people who have a lot of status also often have a lot of material wealth or possessions that show that they are presumably successful. However, don't be fooled, because a lot of times people will spend a lot of money on things that make them look more successful, but they may be scrounging and living paycheck to paycheck, or even actually going into debt to make it appear that they are in a successful state. Status does aim to often put itself on display. Status wants to be seen and wants to be liked for the different ways that they can buy and show off their material wealth. On the other hand, success is much different than that. It's not something that's often viewable through a camera lens. You know, you're not going to capture a picture of someone's success in their daily internal motivations and habits and assume that they are successful. For example, if you think about Kate Spade or Robin Williams, you know, from the external appearance, both of those people have a lot of status and a lot of success, a lot of wealth. They're both well loved, especially Robin Williams as a very beloved comedian. However, through their tragic suicides, we learned that actually they didn't really feel successful at all. They felt quite the opposite of successful, and they felt so poorly that they actually didn't want to live any longer. So again, that external viewpoint of what it is to be successful is not always visible to the external eye. Another difference between status and success is the duration of it. So status is often short-term or short-lived, not always, but it has a time frame for how quickly you can achieve it. A very obvious example of this is a medical doctor. So, doctors are very well respected in society, and they go through a rigorous educational system and training system, which usually has a set number of years to get through before they accomplish that final degree of MD or DO, and then they become an attending and start practicing in their field. Now, that's not to say that they're not successful either, just because they have the status of having a title. What I mean is that once they reach that title, that's not really the be-all, end-all of their path. Sometimes people go into the field of medicine for the wrong reasons, whether it might be for just the status by itself, or for the money, or because their parents wanted them to do it, and so they reach that goal. But at the end of that goal, they're not really feeling successful. And that's kind of a big deal because they've put so much time, energy, years of their youth into this difficult process where everybody else was having fun and enjoying their youth, and then at the end of it to think that, okay, well, I don't really feel successful after accomplishing this, is kind of a big downside to achieving something you think that is going to bring you status when it's not really that meaningful to you personally. Now, what you want to think about when thinking about success is this something that's going to fulfill me for the long run? In my case, I did go into medicine because I felt that it was a worthwhile endeavor. I felt that I could help people. It was really aligning with my interests in science. So I was dedicated really from an early age to following that path, knowing that it would be difficult, knowing that it would be not fun most of the time, but doing it anyway because I felt passionately about that field. And I honestly can't think of anything else I would be doing other than medicine as my full-time career, because that is truly what fulfills me. So sometimes, again, things overlap where that somewhat short-term goal of achieving a degree does lead to long-term fulfillment. But just be careful when you're thinking about, is this career, position, title going to bring me success long-term and fulfillment long-term, or is it just for that external validation? Along those lines, you want to also think about if success is going to help you better yourself. So say you get that degree that you've been working towards for years, well, then what? Are you just going to stop there, or are you going to keep trying to pursue more and learn more? In my own instance, I did have a Bachelor of Science, and then I went and got my MD. After that, several years later, I did decide to pursue a master's degree in bioethics. And I didn't have to do that. Nobody told me to do that. It wasn't a job requirement, but I was interested in bioethics, and it is very relevant to my field of palliative medicine. And it's something that I learned so much about, not just about ethics, but about the law in the United States, about societal impacts on health and well-being. So it was a very valuable course for me, even though it was 2 years of my life, in addition to my full-time job, in addition to doing fellowship and having children to take care of and a family to look after. But that's something that brought me internal reward and internal fulfillment, and also helps me in my career even to this day. So always think about what are ways that you can aim to improve yourself, and not yourself compared to somebody else, but yourself compared to who you were yesterday. Another difference between status and success is comparison versus individuality. Touched on this a little bit in the last topic, that you want to focus on not comparing yourself to what others are achieving and trying to outdo that, because that is trying to achieve a certain status. You want to always look at individual results, individual values, and individual drivers for what is meaningful to you. I apologize, part of my prior video got deleted. The end of it got deleted, so if you notice that things are shifted around in the background, that is why. But as I was saying, if you think back on how you were last week, last month, last year, 10 years ago, and if you find that you're in not a better place or the same place, or even maybe a worse place, there's a lot of re-evaluating of your current status in terms of your mind and not what externally people are seeing. And think about, is this where you wanted to be at this point in your life? If not, what is different? What can you achieve? Or what can you change about your current routines and your current habits that will help you achieve where you want to be compared to where you were before? So I just want to leave with a kind of a recap of everything we talked about, and thinking about how status and success are different. Status has a very limited scope. It's only thinking about the external, what other people see or perceive of how you are doing in life. It may be based on your career, your title, your car, your house, your worldly possessions, but those are all on the surface. They're not digging deep into what is bringing you meaning and joy in your life. Success, on the other hand, is more holistic. What makes someone successful? In my opinion, the things that make me successful are aligning my actions with my values, focusing on my health and well-being, spending quality time with my loved ones, saying no to things that don't serve me, saying yes to things that will bring fulfillment, happiness, joy, and reward. So I hope that this video allowed you to kind of think about the differences between status and success, and where do you fall on the trajectory between the two. As I mentioned before, they're not two completely isolated and separate things. Many times they can and do overlap, but it's just figuring out which one you want to take precedence. I hope you found this video valuable, and if you have any more comments or suggestions about how you view these topics, I would love to hear your input. And please check out a few of my other videos. I hope to see you in my next one. Take care.